Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. I have got the amazing Lisa Brincat from Tipping Point Consultant with me today. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Claire.
Fabulous to have you here. Before I get stuck into telling everyone how we know each other, do you want to tell us a bit about what you do and what is Tipping Point Consultant?
Sure. Tipping Point Consultant is a business that I started with Ellie, who lives in the Netherlands. I'm on the Gold Coast.
Very exotic.
Very exotic. We are both mums, and this is a way that we can work really flexibly because we're in different time zones, and because we can leverage each other's skills. We do three sort of main areas for women that are wanting to get into flexible work and turn their skills into a business.
Mm-hmm.
We bring our nearly 30 years combined experience of being consultants to helping them down that pathway so that they can earn money from what they already know. We deliver courses around money confidence. We're really, really passionate about gender equality and the pay, reducing the pay gap. So it's our little way of contributing to help that and help women in business get more comfortable with their business finances. And we do traditional consulting work around business plans and investor pitches, so as that people can really know their options and make decisions and find that tipping point in their business.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. And so you and I first kind of came across each other when you were doing a little mini side project as well a couple of months ago. Do you want to tell us about that just quickly?
Sure. We run a Facebook group called Ambitious Mamas, and we have a conversation series in there where we talk to different women about what it is that they're up to. I had a chat to you about what you're up to and shared that in the group.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I think from memory, I can't even remember exactly what we talked about, but it was we jumped on to Zoom or Skype, whatever it was. Excuse me, we chatted for maybe 10 minutes or so about random bits and pieces. We hit record for about 3 minutes, and then we sat on and kept talking for another 45 minutes. And it was such an awesome conversation. It's like just awesome, natural. We kind of clicked over a few things. We had some similarities in terms of some family stuff, and I thought that was really cool.
Baby stuff
and business stuff, and I just felt like we had heaps in common.
Yes.
The reason or the main thing that kind of really sparked my interest and that I wanted to get you on the show was I saw a couple of posts around Facebook land in the last couple of weeks with photos of you and Ellie looking absolutely glamorous, but a bit like, saying better an oops than a what if, and kind of owning some stuff that hadn't quite gone according to plan or that sort of thing. And I absolutely loved it. I've also got the Recovering Perfectionist Facebook group, and one of our theme days is #own-it. And what my intention for that is to own the stuff that you do really good, but really own the absolute stuff ups and all that sort of thing, and be totally cool with making some mistakes and having some failures and, learning through that. So when I saw that, it really sort of sparked my interest, and I wanted to chat with you about it and absolutely give you a massive virtual hug and a high five to say, well done for actually owning it and being so authentic and vocal about it. So I don't know if you want to go into that specific example, or maybe just tell us a bit about why you decided to sort of post that and where that whole thing kind of came from.
Sure. I suppose I'll go back a step first, and that is that we have been, we're strategy consultants and we're advisors, and we've been on that side of the table for a long time. And it's much easier sometimes to be on the advice side than it is to be on the doing side.
Yeah.
So we're really determined when we went into business to go in and do and just experiment and see what works and see what doesn't work, and try and be scientific about it. Inevitably, we are also emotional about it. But what we have been doing is we've been putting together a course around money confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But we put the course together and we called it Money Mastery, and we marketed it as Money Mastery. And we got some initial sales, and we're actually together at the time, which was unusual. So we're like high-fiving each other, and we're going, "Yes, this is awesome!" And then we got 2 total. It was really useful for us because we realized where we were off message for the course, why we even did it. We had to really go back and say, okay, well, we've invested this time in creating this. Why did we feel so passionate about creating something like this? And we also got a chance to, I suppose, practice what we preach a little bit, and sort of say, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is where we're going to go from here onwards. But I think that it is one of the benefits I've noticed that I have of having a partner, whereas I can see for a lot of women who are in business, I could see how it would be a major setback when something doesn't work out the way that you want it to work out.
Right.
But I received actually this really useful advice about 1.5 years ago, which has stayed with me. And it was that when things don't work out the way that you want them to work out, it's actually like building a muscle. You're getting ready for the time that it will.
Yeah, right.
And you're making it easy for yourself when that happens. And for me, that's really, really been a helpful frame to hold when I'm in business. Is that didn't work? Oh, good. Means I'm more practiced now for the next time that happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Awesome. And so I guess I think that's a really important thing. And I think when we're in business and we're in like a solopreneur sort of business, and you're really the only person who's in your business, and you might have some support people or coaches or VAs and that sort of thing, but it's totally different to working in a team or in a partnership. That, like you said, something goes wrong and you totally beat yourself up about it, and it makes it really difficult sometimes to focus on anything good that you've sort of done. And I focus on a lot with my clients and in my in Pause for Effect in the online course, in actually doing the review of all the stuff, everything that has worked and everything that hasn't worked, but taking the time to actually go, oh yeah, I was really good at that. But I think maybe you find this as well, that you kind of get unintentionally and accidentally caught up in this cycle of always moving forward, which is awesome. And obviously that's what you've got to keep doing. But sometimes we are so busy doing the next thing, or ticking off the next thing on our list, or making the next phone call, or sending the next email, that we actually sort of forget to stop and either acknowledge the things that have gone really well and give ourselves a bit of a pat on the back and a bit of celebration and rewards and that sort of thing. But also when something goes wrong, we madly try and fix it rather than sort of stopping and going, okay, what do I need to learn from this? What do I need to kind of get from this, rather than just, it failed, I have to fix it. What's actually gone wrong? Was there a block, or like you said, was it a messaging issue, or was it actually something to do with the why? Was I doing it for the wrong reasons, and that sort of thing? So I think that's a really cool kind of lesson to get from that.
I'm definitely a recovering perfectionist, and I often need to be reminded that we don't need to just have cocktails at the top of the mountain. We can have cocktails along the way.
Yes, we can. I like that analogy.
So yeah, it's been really useful to remember that, that it's just as important to enjoy the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And I think the flip side of the course not being as successful as we wanted it to be was that we were together when those 2 sales came through.
Yeah.
And we were just like, when we were together, when that happened, it was like, oh my goodness, we are so on the right path to what we want to be doing here.
Yeah.
it did help that we were drinking cocktails.
And in a completely different time zone as well. So, in that sort of a sense, like my two questions is, what was the sort of response when you did sort of say, oh, we stuffed up, oops, better, but it's better an oops than a what if? When you put that on Facebook, kind of what sort of response did you get, and was it what you were expecting to get from your tribe and your followers and your fans and all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, look, I think that's an interesting question. I think I don't think we realise yet what response we've got. So even the fact that you noticed and that we're now having this conversation at the times, I mean, it's probably part of being in an online business. So sometimes you do wonder if are you talking to an empty room, or are there people actually listening? So I think that it will be something that we will see, and we'll have more conversations with people as we go on, and get feedback as to what resonated with them and what didn't resonate with them in our experience.
Yeah, and I think the most important part of that whole thing is that even if you didn't get people replying or people responding or people saying well done or anything like that in the moment, what it does, and anything like that in social media, that you don't necessarily have to have comments, shares and likes to know that you're getting through. I mean, it's hard to know that you're getting through, but what it all kind of does is obviously build up your brand awareness, that you are a brand and you are a partnership and you do have this business and this is something that you did offer in the past and you may offer in the future. But it's also about that know, like and trust. So just the fact that someone has stood up and said, sorry, we stuffed up, or we stuffed up and this is what we learned from it, or we stuffed up and this is how badly we stuffed up and we totally shouldn't have done that. That's cool. It just builds that going, they're human, they're real people. I stuff up too. So it's like a connecting thing, and it's an authentic, it's not just Instagram authentic. Like, I won't even go into that because there's a whole other rant about that sort of thing. But it's actually, it's a really great thing. And I think the more that we can be honest, and I've had a very similar conversation about this morning in another episode about that, being okay with being a bit vulnerable and owning it, and totally just being like, well, probably my toughest critic is me, and the more that you can kind of get over that sort of thing, the better it is for you and for your clients. So I think that's really cool. So my second question was, I thought it was really interesting about what you said about being on the other side of the table. So you're used to kind of coming in, doing the consulting, putting together the strategy, saying all you need to do is this, and then you need to do this, and then you need to do this, and you need to do this, and this is what the outcome will probably be because we've strategized it to within an inch of its life, and it's going to be beautiful and easy and flow, and here's a document you can sign at the end, and tick and flick, blah, blah, blah. And then, like I said, when you're on the other side and you've had a strategy, which I guess you've probably come up with between you guys, and it probably felt like it was just going to, go on and do what it needed to do and be all sunshine and roses and that sort of thing. And then it hasn't quite gone that far. What sort of, what did that kind of propel you guys to do in response to what had happened?
Yeah, excellent question. I think that I think there's a couple of things. First of all, it really, I suppose it gave us space to think about what it was. Like I think sometimes when things actually go really well, you're more inclined to gloss over what didn't go well.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
When things don't go as well, you really get to sit down and say, okay, what did and didn't work, why didn't it work, and you get to sort of see, you get to spend more time on those details. I think for us, we also got the opportunity to put the same, we put the same advice that we would give our clients on ourselves.
Yes. Which is giving away the farm here.
Yeah, no, that's all right. We needed to be, I mean, we probably weren't as visible as what we could have been.
Mm-hmm.
during the promotion period. And because we and it's why we love to talk to other women about this, is because we both have small babies.
Mm-hmm.
My son's 9 months old and Ellie's is 5 months. And some days we did not feel like getting on video and sharing our message.
Because we're covered in baby puke and our hair hasn't been washed in 7 days. So I hear you.
The baby's crying, and we do not feel like the professional, professional women that can add value to your business.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, for us, it was it was really, I suppose, both a reflection on what we could have done better, but why we didn't, and being okay with that for the now as well. It was also a bit of silver lining. What else came out of it? There were different things that came out of it than what we expected. We went in with the intention to have a group of 20 women build their money confidence, and interestingly enough, and it's kind of probably a bit of a law of attraction thing, we didn't end up with 20 women, but it was a combination of our previous launches. So careful how you
what you wish for.
Yeah. And I think we lots of different opportunities actually opened up off the back of it that were not in the original business plan.
Interesting. Thanks, universe. Yeah, interesting.
But I do think that generally there's a big difference between probably strategy, where it is that you want to go in the long term, and the tactics. What are you doing on a daily basis? How are you turning up? How are you executing? And it's, in consulting, in a lot of consulting articles at the moment, they're talking about how some of the major consulting players in the world, like McKinsey, are actually struggling to get that right, to get that mix right. How, not only how do you present a strategy, but how do you execute it? And it's the reason that we decided to go into business instead of doing another course or another qualification, or is that sometimes you need to learn.
So that's really interesting that you say that, and I'm just going to listen to the universe with this sort of thing. That whole strategy versus tactic versus, there's another layer in there. I feel like there's another thing. Execution that has popped up a couple of times in the last, 2 weeks or so. So I'd love to get a bit more information from you about that, if that's okay. So I take it that the strategy is like the umbrella, like the direction, the kind of big picture stuff, and then the tactics is almost like a tick and flick, like a to-do list sort of thing.
Maybe and it's kind of a combination of a to-do list, and it might be to do with timing as well. So tactics often are, you may know that you want to move to the right, but you move to the left and then go to the right because you know that you're going to see more people in the left, and then they're going to come to the right with you.
Right.
The tactics are sort of both a what you'll do and a when you'll do, and sort of a bit more of a pathway than the end destination.
So strategy is big on goal setting, right? So it's knowing kind of what the end product needs to look like in fairly articulated detail. And the tactics might not look like you're actually going towards that goal at some points, but it's all got a bit of a reason that you're kind of spinning back around. So can you give us maybe an example of something that you've maybe worked on either in your own business or something sort of that you have consulted on recently? Just so I find that kind of, like, I understand what you're saying now, but I know I'm going to go away and be like, what was she talking about? So it's just one of those things that I find really difficult to delineate, because I'm like, isn't this all a strategy? And then I know you mentioned before that you also help people write their big business plans and their investor pitches and all of that sort of thing. And that's something I'd definitely like to explore with you while we're chatting as well, because I think that's something that in the sort of business that I'm in, like I'm kind of in two minds about the business planning for various reasons, which we'll come back to in a minute. So maybe, just give us an example about the strategy and tactics and that sort of thing in real life situation.
Okay. Just trying to think of what's the best example to use, but I think that so let's take a bigger organization to start with. Say, for instance, you're in a corporate environment. It would be how do we develop our people so as that we have the best leaders. That's going to be your strategy. But you may realize that just sort of saying to them, okay,
be a better leader.
Yeah, 10 of you these are the 10 people we want to be better leaders, and the other 90 of you we think we'll just leave you as you are. It may be that you decide
which does happen,
but tactically you may decide, well, okay, we're going to cascade it. We're going to start with these people. We're going to have a specific message. They're most going to like to do a workshop, and then the next group of people are going to want to do something where they role play things. And so tactics is, you're still working towards the same direction, but tactics is a bit more around how you make sure that what you're looking to achieve really gets depth and really sits with the people. In an online business, it may be that the strategy is that you end up with a following of X number of people, 10,000 people or 20,000 people. The tactics may mean that you go and you meet people who have already done it, and you connect with people who are already in your market, or you start to have conversations with different people, or go to specific networking events so as you meet the right crowd. So the tactics are really more about the steps in between, I suppose, to get you towards your strategy.
So within strategy, you might have milestones set in, and then within the milestones, there's all the little actions that kind of lead up to those sort of mini strategy or mini goals, I suppose, within that sort of thing.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the actual doing of them.
Another question altogether, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. All right, cool. So that's awesome. And like I mentioned before, I think the other thing that you mentioned before was about business planning. And anyone who knows me knows my planning's basically my middle name. I just love planning. When I first started the business, I didn't really know exactly how to articulate what I wanted to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And my elevator pitch went like this. I'm really good at planning and I like organizing stuff. So do you need a hand with anything? That was kind of my thing. It was really effective. You can imagine. People absolutely jumped on it. Not. But so I love to plan. I love having a bit of a safety net that has some things sort of built into it. So I know that the bare minimum that I want, or the foundation for my business, or the foundation for my client love thing, whatever, is there. But I have a bit of a mixed feelings in the last 6 months about having an actual business plan. And I guess my reason for that is if I'd done a business plan a year ago, there's no way that I'd be doing some of the sorts of things that I'm doing now, because I didn't even know that they existed. I didn't know there were possibilities. I didn't understand what the opportunities were. I didn't really understand a lot about my purpose or my message. I was kind of just trying things out and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what's made me a little bit anti plan. And I know there's certain situations, like you said, that having a plan, like if you're going for a bank loan or investment or kind of that big picture stuff, you obviously need to have some pretty stepped out strategized plans in place and that sort of thing. And I totally get that. So I guess I'm interested to kind of hear from you, like, where do you draw that line about how much detail to put in, and how, like, I'm really big on 90-day plans. And I heard, probably 6 months ago or something, someone said, even like Richard Branson, he has this big thing about, he's got obviously his strategy, he's got all of his companies, everyone knows where they're going probably 10 years from now, but he only really talks about 90-day plans, because there's so many other variables that you just can't kind of plan for in any super in-depth way, I suppose. And so the next kind of immediate future is more important to absolutely nail than the big picture. So I'm not really sure where I sit kind of on the spectrum. So I'd love to know kind of your take on all of that, and the planning and the strategizing, and, you know, to what degree do you kind of do all of that stuff?
Yeah. So what I think most of the time is that people are at point A, and they have a view of what point B looks like. And there are multiple ways that you can get from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two things that a business plan really does that is difficult potentially to do completely on your own. Some people are quite good at doing it on their own, but not always. And that is, first of all, kind of clearly marking what all those different options are to get from A to B. So you start to see that pathway. If you start to see that there's 10 different pathways, and one has a tree and one has a lake, and all of that sort of thing. And then the second thing that's really useful is you start to create a framework for choosing which path you go on. So, you know, it may be that one pathway is the most direct, but it may be that that's not actually what you want in something else that's going on in your life. So you a different pathway. So I think business planning, in my view, is most useful to help you really clearly see what it is that needs to be done to get where you want to go, and actually evaluate whether that's the pathway that you want to take.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess that also kind of gives you an accidental plan B, C, D, E, F, G. So if you try path A and it does not work for you, for whatever reason, then you've kind of already got some other options and some other vehicles almost to get to jump in and try that one instead. Yeah.
And I think 90-day planning is really, really good to, I suppose, it's a bit like a marathon and having a water stop. You know, like you know that if you just focus and keep going for that bit, that you're gonna get to the next bit. And if you call it
a cocktail stop. We've already talked about cocktails. I'm not going back to water at this stage.
Yes, I've never done a marathon. So what I imagine it to be, anyway. I'm trying to think of what I actually do that would be similar.
So if you were to work with someone, is one of the big things you do now in Tipping Point Consulting doing that business plans, and how long do you typically set one out for, or is it different for every person, every business?
It is different for every person and every business. For us, I suppose the bit that is the interesting overlay is that each of those pathways has a financial repercussion, a financial overlay, and you know it's kind of helping people combine. What do I need to do? What would I need? What would this look like if I was actually going to go down that pathway? And then does the financial side actually match to what I think it does for that pathway? So that's the kind of overlay that that business planning generally leads to. Is, you know, does this actually lead to me making money in my business? Does it make sense? We spend a lot of time with mums looking at their finances and then looking back at how much time they have. So, you know,
it's an interesting one.
I have this plan of how I'm going to, you know, create and do this and grow this product or grow this service, but I only have 20 hours a week. So we go back and we say, look, you know, here's how your time is going to be allocated against that. So does that make sense? Are you going to need more people in your team? If you need more people in your team, what does your finances look like to do that? You know, is it set up to do that?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I have very similar. There's a section in one of my modules as well that's like, now we're going to do a stock take of how many hours you can at the most look do in your business. And that's including if you're doing weekends and evenings, which, let's face it, we're probably all doing a little bits and pieces here and there. And it was, I think for a lot of people, I did it as part of a webinar, and then I did it in part of the online course as well. And I think it probably got the biggest aha moments for everyone who was doing it. So like, I'm planning on 30 hours of work between now and the end of the year, for example. I've got this to create and this to create and this to create. And I've already worked out that it's going to take me 60 hours to do that and 20 hours to do that and and all that. And that was all probably very underestimated as well. And then they've stepped out and gone, oh, but I only have 16 hours a week that I can work on it between daycare and like between the kids, either being asleep or not being there, or, the time that I know that I can keep them busy watching telly or something. And all the other things that you have to do and all that sort of thing. I think it was a really interesting that they go, oh God, I'm planning on doing 40 hours worth of work, but there's two problems. I only have 18 or 20 hours to work on my business. And I started doing this business because I don't want to be doing 40 hours a week again. So it's a really eye-opening thing when you stop and analyze how many hours you've got to do, what the work is that you want to do, and it really makes it really clear on how to prioritize some things then, I think. And it I think also probably makes it easier to push back on things and say, no, I'm not doing that, or no, I can't take on a new client for this particular thing, or yes, I can, or, and sometimes it's the other way around as well, where they go, I've actually got 40 hours that I spend on my business, or that I could spend on my business, but I know that I'm spending 3 hours a week just, randomly looking through Facebook. So, they can kind of actually bulk up what they're doing a little bit more effectively as well. So it's awesome that you do that too. That's fabulous. I love it.
Yeah, and we spend a bit of time, I think, looking at, I suppose, multiple streams of income and how that can then help to get more people involved with your life. So, for instance, we Airbnb part of our house here, which means that my cleaner is absolutely sorted.
Perfect.
We do our traditional consulting work as well as what we're doing for ambitious mamas, which means that we have a virtual assistant that works with us each and every week to keep us on track and give us momentum. So as when we do have sick children, when we do have other things going on in our life, there's still somebody else that's consistently, driving
moving things forward. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're practicing what we preach as much as we can.
Yeah, beautiful. And I guess the last thing that I'd love to hear about is a little bit more about the partnership agreement that you and Ellie obviously have. I think that's absolutely amazing. And I remember when we talked about it last time that you were saying, and you mentioned it before as well, that it's awesome that she's in a totally different time zone, obviously being in Europe. So it almost, it more than doubles the sort of people that you can access and the people who are on social media, if that's where your strategy is, at different times of the day. And that when one of you goes to bed, the other one's just starting. So it actually is, it sounds like a match made in heaven, and the sort of thing that could be fantastic. And you don't have to share your office with anyone. So I'm a little bit interested to just sort of hear anything like that. And I'm also working on a couple of joint ventures for completely different things as well. So any sort of tips and tricks or things to avoid when you're doing anything in a joint venture sort of a situation?
Sure. We worked virtually. Ellie and I had worked virtually before together. Mm-hmm. So when I first had my son, before Ellie had children, I was actually back filling her breaks. So we were doing a project where she would work 6 weeks, and I would work 2 weeks, her 2 weeks off. I would come and work, and then she would work the next 6 weeks, and I would work the next 2 weeks. So we had worked together.
A project through a bigger consulting firm, right?
It was. And in Africa, in Ghana.
So cool.
So that's a whole different tangent.
Yeah.
But I suppose some of the really practical tips that we use and that work really well for us is that we share files. That's a given. All the files are on a shared drive. We're accessing the same thing. We're very good at our version control, so it's very obvious who's worked on what. We use Skype as like our water cooler. So if I'm in my day and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if this is a good idea, I'll write it in Skype, knowing that Ellie will pick it up when she wakes up, and she'll think about it and she'll write something back. Or
when she, yep.
So we use Skype as our water cooler. We use Zoom, like to videotape what we're doing if we need somebody else to pick it up. So if we're working with our virtual assistant, we will Zoom the call, and she can go back and pick up what we've said and use that.
And out of interest, where is your VA? Is she in a third country?
We've got three, but we've got 2 Australian VAs, and then we've got also a VA hub, and an offshore VA hub that we also use.
Yeah, awesome.
Predominantly Australia is where we spend most of our time talking to our VA.
Yeah, cool.
And, we just mostly, I suppose, we talk a lot. We communicate a lot. We do it by 3 or 4 different ways. It's emails, it's in the files that we're working in, it's Skype. It's getting together and talking on, when we have a chance together. So that's probably the big secret, is to keep talking.
Talk lots. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. I don't think I have any other huge questions. I'm sure we'll jump on again at some other point and do another one of these, because I'm absolutely intrigued by all of your stuff. And there is one more thing, actually. The money archetypes. I know that's something that we're about to talk about in another forum very shortly, but I am absolutely intrigued by it. So can you just run me through roughly kind of sort of what I'm in for? Because I'd love to know. I think it's a really interesting concept. So yeah, tell us a bit about that.
Sure. There's kind of a before and after profiling test that I do for wealth creation. One is the archetypes, which is where are you now? What predominantly are you sitting in? And it gives you a sense of probably where you're not looking at some of the stuff in your finances. So where is it that you're perhaps kind of turning a blind eye, or putting the glasses on, or sort of, and usually, to be fair, most of the time, the way that we relate to money and the way that we work with it is a learnt thing. It comes from our upbringing. It comes from who we're surrounded with, and our natural strengths. So the money archetypes is really a initial sort of view of where you are now around your money mindset, around what you're creating in terms of your wealth. And then I do an after, which is a wealth dynamics profile test. And that's really focused on you knowing where you're in flow, what you're really good at, how you should build your team, and what pathway you take to create wealth in your life and make that an easier thing.
I can't wait. It's going to be so juicy. I can't wait to talk to you about that. I think it's really interesting. I probably 12 months ago, I started sort of hearing, again, these sorts of things, like all this online business and, some of these sort of alternative styles, I suppose, of thinking about your mindset and that sort of thing. It was kind of new to me, I suppose, in a lot of ways. And I remember I heard, someone said, we'll go through and we'll find all your money hang-ups and we'll work out what's blocking you. What are your money blocks? And I was like, I don't have any money blocks. I'm great with money. I'm good at saving, and I'm very thrifty, and I won't buy anything unless it's on sale. And I'm like, that's a money block. That's a thing, right? So then I went through, I don't know, it was a 7-day challenge or something, and just uncovering a few things. It's like, God, that is actually a thing. It's not, and it's not necessarily bad stuff, but it's just understanding kind of what my attitude and my relationship was with money, where I was just like, no, she's all right, she's sweet, we're all good, we've got savings, I'm good at saving my pennies, and I won't buy things unless I really want it or really need it or whatever. But even that sort of thing is your money stuff. That's a thing. Like and I know, and now that I've done some work, I know kind of where some of that stuff's come from, and it's kind of opened a bit of a bag of worms. So yeah, I'm super interested to explore that with you a bit more as well.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, what I'm finding a lot at the moment, is that a lot of women have two money personalities. They have a money personality that's their personal stuff, so it's that story, well, I save well, I don't spend too much, and then they have their business personality, which is dealing with, especially in the startup phase, some insecurities, a new way of thinking, a new way of dealing with things, and those two personalities are not always the same.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait to see what you uncover about me. kind of, sort of. Awesome. So, Lisa, I'm sure people will be wanting to get in touch with you. Is the best way for people to get in touch on your Facebook page or your group?
It is. We're Tipping Point Consultant on Facebook, and Ambitious Mamas is our closed Facebook group.
Fantastic. So I will also put all of your contact details and everything in the show notes if people want links and that sort of thing. But thank you so much for coming on today. It was awesome chatting with you. I absolutely love your style and your business and your message, and I'm sure we could just keep talking about it for hours, but we might leave it there and pick it up again another time.
Thanks, Claire. On to cocktails, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
After 5 o'clock somewhere. All right. Thanks, Lisa. See you.
Bye.